hapon po sa inyong lahat. Back here on Kababayan Today, I'd like to take this opportunity to read an excerpt of Caroline Kennedy's work. The result was the insulting phrase spread rapidly around town, and from day one, I became a controversial figure in Manila. So, Caroline, what was that phrase?
Well, this was the fault of your top poet, who is no longer with us, unfortunately, Jose Garcivilla. When he met me in
Indios
Bravos for the first time, he said, "Do you know any Filipina?" So I said, "Absolutely not." And he said, "I'll teach you." And then everybody around this big table in the center of Indios Bravos said, "He's the greatest teacher. You know, if he teaches you Filipino, you know, you say yes immediately." So he said, "Can I say this on air?"
Sure.
Okay. He said, "Balok tukt an mo."
And you would say this to everybody.
And I said this to everybody. I was practicing it. And I said this to every person who came into the Indios Bravos that night. And I couldn't understand why everybody was
laughing,
you know, and giggling behind their hands. And, oh my God, not knowing where to look. And so anyway, I only found out afterwards. The laugh was on me because I was asking if their was crooked or something.
Oh gosh, okay, so let me continue. It remained that way for the rest of my long association with the country, meaning the Philippines. To some, I became a much-loved honorary Filipina, an independent young woman with no religious, political, social, or sexual hang-ups, who during an era of enforced intimidation fearlessly spoke or wrote her mind on any and all taboo subjects, while to others I turned into a hate figure, a detrimental example to all Filipina women, an undesirable alien, a person to be vilified in the media, castigated by the government, and banished by the Department of Immigration and Deportation without delay.
They did. They tried to deport me, and because I was too outspoken, and they said I was a bad example for Filipino women and so on and so forth, because I was talking about sexual subjects and things, which I thought was probably a good thing, actually. So I was at the beginning of the sexual revolution in the Philippines. Mind you, the Filipinas took it all in their stride, and they actually became far worse than I was in the end, and they were, you know, having affairs all over the place as well. So,
but it is Women's Month, and that's why we're talking about this, because the definition of what a Filipina is, you define that. Even though, you know, you don't look it. You are an honorary Filipina because your association with the country, you are able to really grasp the essence of that country through your writing.
Yeah, well, I love the Philippines more than anything, more than any other country that I've been to, and I've traveled the world. I really have. I mean, I've traveled to over 84 countries, I think, and I'm still traveling. I live in a suitcase still, but the Philippines has the strongest and most cherished memories for me. I mean, I just love the country. I love the people. And as I just mentioned earlier before we started, that I'm going back to the Philippines in April, which I'm looking forward to so much. And we're having a reunion of the Indios Bravos group, as many of them are still around. Unfortunately, a few of them have died, including dear Betsy and her husband Henry have both gone, very sadly, and several others too. Many, well, not many, but a few of them were incarcerated by Marcos during martial law. A few of them disappeared, a few of them, so yes.
And that's the truth. And that's why I'm so fascinated by your work, because you say it like it is.
I do.
And that's admirable, because from the time that you describe in the 60s till today, 2015, between you and I, and obviously the viewers, not much has changed.
Not much has changed. And
why do you think that is, Caroline?
I think because, unfortunately, the Marcoses showed just how much money could be made in such a short period of time, and they had longer in the presidency than the ones that came after them, but they were all the presidents who came after them had seen this example of the Marcoses and how much money they could make, and they all were in a hurry because they only had 4 years probably to make it, and so they and all their cronies just amassed fortunes, and so, you know, unfortunately, the Filipinos are the one that's going to suffer. And of course, plus the fact that there is no birth control in the Philippines, and that, again, is still a taboo subject, although I'm glad to see that the current Pope is, even though he said there's still no birth control, that he is very much more lenient and very much more geared towards helping the poor people all over the world.
Yeah, this is something that we really need to address. I'd like to share with you that I was part of the reproductive health bill that passed in the Supreme.
I know, this is brilliant.
Yes, in Baguio.
In Baguio.
In Baguio.
Yes.
So this
Jasmine wrote to me and said, "We've done it, we've done it."
Yes, so it was very historic.
Yes.
But now it's the implementation.
Yes.
So to have something in paper, there's still a long way to go before women, Filipino women, are given their rights to reproductive health.
I know.
So I'm so glad you're here. We're talking about your work and your perspective of the Philippines. When we return here on Kababayan Today, kasama pa rin natin si Caroline Kennedy to talk about her love and association for the Philippines. Don't go away.